Hi Tailoring Talkers, welcome back to the Tailoring Talk Magazine with Roberto and Jon for the first time in a long time. Jon, how are you?
It feels almost like 007 years since we last spoke, Bobby. I'm very well, thank you very much. A little bit peaky after Christmas drinks last night, I have to say. So there's a few bags under my eyes from a bad night's sleep of no martinis or anything like that, just whiskey. So yeah, don't drink.
Yeah, well, certainly
I don't condone it.
No vodka martinis for you on this call. And so we're gonna. It's almost Christmas, Jon. Actually, we're a few days from Christmas. It's the 21st of December, 2025, and the last time we talked about Bond was round about December 2024.
Wow.
I think some things have happened in the Bond cinematic universe, so it's high time that we talked about them. Before we get into that, if you're watching this on YouTube, please support the channel by subscribing and dropping a like. That doesn't cost you anything. You can also hype this video. If you look underneath the video window, you can swipe for comments, and then if you keep swiping, you'll see a hype option, so please do consider giving us some of your hype points for this week. It really helps the show, and you can also check out some of our channel memberships, just like Simon Chambers, who we must give a massive shout out to, and a thank you, Simon, for all your support. Simon is a Tailoring Talk Magazine member. He has been supporting the podcast pretty much since day one, and we appreciate you so much, as we appreciate the rest of you who have subscribed. We're over 2,600 subscribers now, and that means the world to us. So,
the world isn't
Bond.
normally enough, though, Bobby, is it? Normally,
the world is not normally enough. No. Oh, that was on TV the other day. Very good, Jon. Very good. So, how is it that I'm the one that hasn't been drinking and I'm just not with it at the moment? It's been a long year. It has been a long year. So I'm also very sorry that we've been absent for some time. But thanks for all hanging in there. So Bond, last time you, Alex, and I discussed the Bond situation, I think it was when Amazon had just taken it over or bought it from the Broccolis, and then nothing happened for quite some time. And now there's a lot of Bond stuff happening all at once. So we have got a director, Denis Villeneuve, who I absolutely love and adore. I'm a massive fan of his work, and you are as well. There is speculation swirling around a certain young actor, so I want to just get into a little bit of information about him, because not everybody knows the name that is being bandied about at the moment. And we are also going to talk about the new game, First Light, which will be led by Jon, because he is our resident gamer. I'm still stuck playing FIFA, or EAFC as it's now known, with about 20 games that I still haven't played from the last few years. A lot of them shrink-wrapped, so there we go. Let's start with Amazon's appointment of Denis Villeneuve as the director, and we also do have a screenwriter as well. And by the way, for those of you listening, the Bond community of TT Mag, please join in the comments. We want to hear your opinions, your thoughts, what you're excited about for the future of Bond, and what you're worried about, and what direction you would like to see the series go in. So, Denis Villeneuve. Jon, how did you react when you heard that he was officially confirmed as the next 007 director?
I was very excited. He's one of my favourite directors. He knows his stuff. He's normally been quite interested in science fiction, isn't he? So, it's an interesting... He's not always done science fiction, to be fair, but it's an interesting departure from the films like Arrival and the Dune series, which he is, I think, has been filming Dune 3 recently as well. So yeah, I'm very excited, and he's accomplished, and his attention to detail is what I'm looking forward to seeing in the Bond films. You know, he's done some groundbreaking stuff in terms of the special effects for Dune, and using common sense, which is really interesting, as well as practical effects. So I'm looking forward to him, helming the next maybe more than one film. I don't know, even if people are speculating whether it will just be one director or many. So. Tanya LaPont is the executive producer, and as well as Amy Pascal and David Heyman, who who obviously we've talked about before.
You know, Tanya's his wife.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yes, of course. Yeah, she wasn't on Dune as well, wasn't she? I think. I'll have to look that up.
I'm not as much of a Dune geek as you, so you know, I watched the movies, I enjoyed them, I bought them on digital download. That's about it.
I'll look that up at some point. He's done a lot of other
But
films. He did Blade Runner, wasn't he? He did Blade Runner, of course.
He did, yeah. Well, let's just run through his filmography for those that are listening that either aren't familiar with him or need to just be reminded, because in recent years he has. You sort of say Denis Villeneuve. Sorry, I just kicked my tripod there. You say Denis Villeneuve, and most people do think sci-fi. So most recently, Dune Part 2. Obviously, we've got the next part of Dune coming out at some point. Blade Runner 2049 in 2017. Arrival in 2016. And before that, not much sci-fi going on. It was more... True. Yeah, kind of thriller action type stuff. Sicario in 2015, which starred Emily Blunt and Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin, which was a fantastic film. Really, really great action movie. Prisoners with Jake Gyllenhaal and Hugh Jackman, which I remember seeing in the cinemas. Quite a heavy-hitting film. And Enemy in 2013 with Jake Gyllenhaal was probably his kind of breakout movie internationally, I would say. So yeah, and then obviously 2016 with Arrival, which is a movie we'll never forget seeing that in the cinema. It was such an amazing experience, both visually, orally, and
soundtrack's really good.
It was very visceral as well. Yeah. Like, it really got to you, and he just continued that with Blade Runner and the two Dune movies. So yeah, I was really, really excited. I know there was a lot of obviously everything's binary online now, so there were people that were really happy and there were people that weren't so happy because they were saying we need to go back to Bond's roots, not more sort of soppy emo Bond, and it's all going to be slow, great sweeping landscapes and things like that. But I don't think that's really the case. People forget films like Sicario, that he really, really showed that he can helm not just action, but action with a bit more meaning and feeling as well.
He's a people person. You look at his films, a lot of the... if you boil it down to this, they are big action pieces, but it's about the people and the humans in his story, which is, I think Bond needs that. We had that at the end of the Craig franchise, really, didn't we? That human, the emotional story, which I think they need to carry on with that. And I think also there was no way Amazon was going to get an unknown director to do this, so it had to be one of the big ones, really. So, and James Cameron was too busy making Avatar 15 and 16, so that's not going to happen either. But no. I'm excited. I'm
just rolling my eyes because I have been reading the reviews for Avatar. I've not been getting into spoilers or anything like that, but apparently not great. So, with time being so precious these days, I'm not sure I want to give up 3.5. Well, it's 4 or 5 hours when you take into account travel and all that sort of thing. To go to the cinema, and I think I'm at the end of the road with Cameron's Blue Smurfs. I mean, I'm sure it'll look visually stunning, but the last one didn't even really sort of give me the feels, and apparently this one's not great either. So, yeah.
Wait till it comes on to Disney Plus then.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah. So, world building is something that I think Villeneuve is really, really good at. Whether it's something like the Dune franchise, where he's going to be helming Part 3, and the way that he created the first 2 parts in the world that he built was absolutely amazing, and you really got immersed in it as well, even if you weren't a Dune geek, which I wasn't. You remember when we saw the first one, and I was like, kind of... No, I mean, to be honest, I just went to see it because of the director. Dune prior to that had meant nothing to me. It just was never something I was ever bothered about. But even in his standalone movies like Arrival, Prisoners, etc., the way that he's able to create worlds and pull you in is something that's quite exceptional, and I love the way that he does it as well, which I would say makes me quite excited for what he might do with Bond, assuming that he's maybe signed to a multi-picture deal as well.
I don't know about that. I don't know what the rumours are about that. I can't find any evidence to say he's been signed up for more than one film. My only concern is I think he's done a really good job of adapting some quite difficult books. Arrival and Dune were very hard to adapt. So it's got to have a very good story behind it to be a success. It can't just be Denis waving a magic wand and making things happen. He's got to have a really good story. And that's where I think Amazon and its team will find the real challenge, is making a compelling story. But also, we talked about this in our last podcast. How are they going to present it as the game is going to try to, which we'll talk about later on, a younger Bond in his first steps, or are they just going to reinvent the universe completely? We could speculate. We've done a lot of speculation before about that. That's not what we're here for, really. But we could talk about Callum Turner, couldn't we? Actually.
Well, before that, you talked about story, and they have hired Stephen Knight to co-write the script, and Stephen Knight is famous for Peaky Blinders.
Oh, yeah.
Now, confession.
Peaky Blinders film coming out soon as well.
There is a Peaky Blinders film coming out. Starring Rebecca Ferguson's going to be in it. I read somewhere. But here's the thing, and people watching this will also draw sharp intake of breath. I've never seen Peaky Blinders.
That's really
and
good.
So that is on my list of things to do in January. I'm going to start that in the new year. So I'll be binge watching Peaky Blinders, and I'm sure I'll absolutely love it. But I've never ever seen it. It's just one of those that's passed me by, and it's not because I looked at it and I was like, oh, that's not for me. It absolutely is, but just, other things have just always got in the way.
It wouldn't be my thing, but it was, if that makes sense. It's not my go-to material, really, but it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, given in my day job in winter, I pretty much dress like one.
Yes,
with the flat cap and everything. I do, right? Like my Instagram reels and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't wait. So I'm going to get into that. But I mean, the fact I hear so many, not just good things about Peaky Blinders, but great things about Peaky Blinders, even from some of my friends that are the most skeptical. Like, it takes an exceptional TV series for them to say that was really, really good. And they all, without exception, like rave about Peaky Blinders. So, hopefully that's, his involvement can only be a good thing, and it means it's all going in the right direction. So Amazon, I think one of our concerns earlier in the year was that they would take it and sort of turn it into a circus, a bit like Trump entering the White House, really. But it seems like with these appointments that they're being careful with it. I hope, and I'm sure they're sort of taking on the role of custodians rather than, I mean, obviously they're going to make money out of it. That's what Amazon does. But, and when you look at, there are people that are really, really worried about Amazon getting their fingers in on this. But if you look at a lot of stuff that Amazon MGM Studios have produced over the last 18 months or so, like a lot of their stuff's actually not that bad. I mean, Reacher, the Amazon TV show, the Jack Reacher, based on the Jack Reacher novels, is really good. It's one of my favourite. Yeah, one of my favourite TV shows of recent times. I'm just going to look up
another example because you talk about what they've made. I did like. I want to see if it was an Amazon owned one. I did enjoy the Continental, but it's the from the world of John Wick, which I think is an Amazon series as well. I'll have to check that. I'll just check the crew. I'm a big John Wick fan, and I really enjoyed that. If that was an Amazon series, I need to look it up. That's a really good kind of. It's like a 3-part series, so it's only 3-hour-long episodes, but they did a really good job of doing something quite clever with the John Wick mythology. I think it's the life of Winston growing up as a young lad and making it big in the city. And that was really good, and I think if they can do something and treat the Bond franchise in the same way, as you said, with care and consideration, then that's a good sign as well.
So Amazon Originals.
It might have been outside. I'm going to look it up now then.
Hang on, while you're doing that, I'm just going to
have a quick look. Yeah, so it was.
Bailey,
Greg Coolidge was the writer on it and directed by Albert Hughes, but I forget where Lionsgate. But I imagine Lionsgate were working in partnership with Amazon because it was an Amazon exclusive. Because obviously Lionsgate make the films. So I think Lionsgate worked with Amazon, or they sold the license to Amazon because Lionsgate own the John Wick franchise as well. I did actually, as a side note, we this week watch the documentary John Wick is Pain, and it's one of the most excellent documentaries I've seen of any film series. It's worth watching.
No, I started watching it, and I need to go back to it. I actually bought it on digital download.
Yeah. So anyway, so if Amazon, I think it was originally a Peacock original, which then got sold on, so it wasn't actually made by Amazon. But if Amazon want to care about their product, and I think in this current climate with so many different streaming services, some being bought by others as well, the whole Paramount and Paramount thing as well. And Warner Brothers, I think they got to make sure that they're successful. So I think there's this kind of balance between milking the cash cow, but also producing a franchise that people will want to go to their streaming service to watch. They have to do a good job. It's a lot of pressure for them. A lot of pressure.
Yeah. Well, just looking original series. I mean, a recent fantastic example, and the new series just started the other day, is Fallout.
Oh yeah,
that's an Amazon original. The Rings of Power as well.
The Rings of Power didn't get quite the critical acclaim it deserved. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on that. The Boys is a good example. That's an Amazon one.
The Boys and Gen V, the spin-off.
And I really enjoyed The Man in the High Castle as well. I mean, these are all. I'm thinking of similar sort of things. They're not quite the same because obviously Bond is not. Although Alex would argue that the tech in it is sci-fi. Quite often in Bond, it's not really sci-fi, but as you said, the Jack Ryan stuff and Reacher stuff, all those sort of things, they are a similar ilk. Oh, there was another film. Was it The Amateur?
The Night Manager. The Night Manager is an original.
Yeah, that's good. The Night Manager is really good as well.
Season 2.
Yeah,
it's really being. They'll show it on the BBC, but it's actually apparently it's an Amazon original series.
So there you go. So. I think there's a good vintage there. It's just as long as it doesn't become. I think the biggest concern, Bobby, is
Spider Noir.
Good or
Spider-Man Noir's coming next year. That's an Amazon original.
Okay, that's good. I think the biggest concern is that a lot of British and die-hard Bond fans is Amazon going to water down the Britishness of it all? Like the core of Bond and MI6 is that despite him being played by a Scotsman, an Irishman, and so on, it's a very British character, and the people are worried it's going to get Americanized. And I don't think Amazon are that stupid. I think they know that is the core of Bond is this that stands him out from other spy thrillers and other action movies is that he's English or he's British. I shouldn't say English. He's British, and I think that's something they need to be very careful with as well, which I'm sure they will. So. We'll see what happens in that respect. So
we've got a director and we've got a writer. We need our Bond. And the name that is now... Because originally, a lot of us thought it was likely going to be Aaron Taylor-Johnson. Yeah. And he kept sort of not denying it, but, he wouldn't sort of be led down that path in interviews earlier in the year. And then it all just suddenly stopped and fizzled out. There were still people piping up talking about Idris Elba, but I think two reasons. Number one, they want to keep Bond true to the original character, and he was a white guy at the end of the day. I don't have a problem with that. I think if we need a black secret agent or an Asian secret agent or a female secret agent, I think we need to find something original rather than trying to give it to Bond. That's just my opinion. I've just kicked my tripod again, haven't I? Am I still in focus? Can you still see me okay?
Yeah,
okay.
I can see you, Bobby.
I need to get used to this. So who's being talked about now? Well, the name on everybody's lips in the media at the moment is Callum Turner. Now, some of you will be going, oh, okay, and some of you will be going, who the hell are you talking about? So Callum Turner, I recognised from the Fantastic Beasts films. So he was Theseus Scamander. I think he's the brother of the main character.
He looks a bit
of
like
Eddie Redmayne's character.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah. He won a Best BAFTA TV he received a BAFTA TV Best Actor nomination for The Capture, which was a BBC thing. He was in Masters of the Air, which was Apple TV Plus series, as Bucky Egan. Yeah. And he was in The Boys in the Boat, which was a Clooney-directed movie, as the character Joe Rance. Born in 1990 in London, so about as English as you can get. Started off as a model and then moved into acting. And the more I've seen photo shoots with him, because at first I thought, not sure, but the more I've seen photo shoots and stuff with him, the more I can kind of start to see it. I kind of see a sort of blend of kind of, there's a bit of Daniel Craig, there's a bit
kind of stockiness to him, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. There's a bit of
he could almost be a young Daniel Craig.
Kind of. I wouldn't go that far. He's a little bit more handsome than Daniel Craig. But there's a bit of that sort of edge to him, and then there's also a bit of there's a little bit of Lazenby in there as well, which if Richard Goule's watching, he'll love that, because On Her Majesty's is his favourite ever Bond film. So yeah, I can see it. I also like the fact he's in his mid-30s. So, you know, there were rumours that they were going to go for someone in their late 20s. But, you know, I think by the time this thing gets into production, he will then be the same age as Daniel Craig was, because Daniel Craig was 36 when he did Casino Royale, if I'm not mistaken. The Bond that was the youngest when he took the role, I believe, is Sean Connery, because he was 31 when he did Dr. No. He looked like he was about 50.
There is a younger Bond, but we'll talk about him later.
We will. Yeah. So, you know, I think he kind of fits the Bond British leading man category, but the thing that kind of makes me intrigued and kind of for it is the fact that he's not obvious. You know, he's not like, you know, if Henry Cavill took the role now, you know, you kind of want to look at Bond and not be thinking of the actor, which is what happened when Daniel Craig took it over, because he wasn't that well known an actor at the time. So you kind of really fell into him as Bond during Casino Royale, and I think that's really, really important. And then also, because he's a little bit older, he's 35, he's not a baby Bond, you know, he's not going to come in sort of looking all sort of fresh-faced and stuff. And he's still at the right age if he's willing to commit to multiple films, because I understand that Amazon want whoever takes the role to play the role for at least 10 years. And I imagine that they'll be looking to push a movie out every 2 years as well. So there we go. So, I think he's got charisma, he's good looking. That's subjective, because Carolina looked him up and went, nah. It's obviously not her type. I mean, she'd want Idris Elba, but, there we go. She's, she likes chocolate. There we go. Well, I mean, how do you feel, John? What was your sort of reaction to him? Was it sort of like, or
no,
were you like, I can see this?
No, I can see it, and I'm with you. I'm quite like it on a lesser note. I've just been looking at his filmography, and I think I saw one of the Fantastic Beasts films. I don't think, because there's a few, weren't there? I don't think he was in the first one.
I saw the first two. I don't think I think there were three. I didn't see the last one.
I've actually seen a film with him in it, because I haven't seen Masters of the Air. Interestingly, Masters of the Air has what's his face, Butler, who was in June, who was Fade. What's his first name? Forget now.
Austin Butler.
Austin Butler. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Austin Butler crop up as a bad guy in the Bond films.
He was such a good bad guy in June 2.
Good, I think. And he worked with Callum in Masters of the Air, so I wouldn't be surprised if Denis gets him into the Bond franchise as well. And they've worked together. It just seems to make sense. I would imagine Callum Turner at some point has met and worked with Denis before as well. Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think it's a good choice. To be honest, I hadn't looked him up until you mentioned it to me about the podcast and discussions. I at the end of the day, it's been 5 years now since the last Bond. I just want to see a new Bond movie. I'm not actually that fussed who the main guy is. They're gonna have to get it right, They couldn't make it too controversial, could they? So yeah, and generally what happens is these actors grow into the role like Craig did. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. Definitely. Apparently they are. So obviously, I'm guessing Stephen Knight's working on the screenplay now, probably with input from Denny. It will be the 26th Bond film. They're targeting production in 2027 for a likely 2027 or 2028 release window.
Wow.
So, not long to wait. But in the meantime, while we are waiting, if you want to get your 007 fix, you can obviously go back to the old movies and rewatch them again, and maybe do that alongside the Tailoring Talk Magazine podcast, where we did do a Bondathon rewatch of all the Bond movies, starting with Dr. No, moving all the way through to No Time to Die. So feel free to watch along or watch each movie and then listen to each podcast episode we did straight after. The early ones are rubbish and then they get better. We grew into the role. Or if you're a gamer, you might be interested in what John's gonna cover next, because John, First Light, what's it all about?
So the Bond franchise also announced a new video game called 007 First Light, and it was announced at, I think, last year's Game Awards. So it's been just over a year since it's announced, but they have more recently, I would say, pulled back the curtain with an extended deep dive playthrough, which I have watched several times, which you can watch on YouTube, showing this new game. And the new game is a very much younger Bond. They've got a guy called Patrick Gibson as Bond, and I did recognise him. In the deep dive, they show you the actor, but not in CGI. Although they've based a lot of his looks on Bond. They actually were going to use a different look, but they liked his acting so much. But Patrick Gibson, I last remember him in a wonderful TV series on Netflix called The OA.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Which, sadly, because it was amazing, because it had Jason Isaacs in it. He was really good, with a really mental twist at the end of the second or third series. Did you see that? I don't want to spoil it. With Jason Isaacs, the most mental twist I've ever seen in any TV series. Fortunately, Netflix's usual stats and figures decided not enough people watched it, and they cancelled it. And I was absolutely gutted. So he was in that.
Oh,
I think
he was young Dexter in Dexter Original Sin.
Dexter. And he was also really good. A really good TV series, which I think is Netflix too, Shadow and Bone, based on the books, which is really worth a watch. My daughter loves Shadow and Bone, the books. So he's actually, he's been in quite a few films and TV series. So he's a good established actor. So, kind of a different look to Bond. He's blonde. Is he blonde in the game? Maybe he's not blonde in the game. He's definitely a blonde actor. But this mission that they show, he's basically his first mission as a recruit, and it's very clearly leaning into the spycraft first in this deep dive, and action second. Now, I'm a big fan of the Hitman franchise, and IO Interactive, who are the developers, well, basically, these are the perfect developers to make this Bond game. Have you played any of the Hitman games, Bobby?
Do you know what? Not since PC days, and I'm talking like, old PC, or maybe, like PlayStation 2, maybe? PlayStation 3? Those sorts of days? I've not played any of the newer ones since. If I, or anyone listening, was going to play a next-gen Hitman, what would you recommend?
I can tell you.
Go on then.
Well,
I'm
they
asking
released Hitman 1, 2 and 3 as a bundle. You can play with all the resources and assets updated. So you can go back now and play Hitman 1, 2 and 3 and play the entire campaign from 1 to 3. And I actually bought little updates to the Hitman World of Assassination game, which is what they call it now, where you can play the whole thing in VR as well. So I was having a bit of a dabble with that, because I was replaying one of the levels I played normally in VR. There's one set in like this sort of Saudi Arabian tall building, like something out of Top Gun, out of Mission Impossible, and it's a lot harder in VR than it is playing normally. It's taken me a while to get used to it, but just to get me a feel of it. But the fact is, in Hitman, it's an open world that you can plan your route to assassinate, and there are various different paths you can take, and you can use different means to kill people, and so perfect, really, set up to make a Bond game. So the mission they show starts as a black tag operation with real strict discretion. It's, Bond is posted on perimeter duty, so he's not actually the main guy, whilst his team infiltrates the venue that they go visiting. So he's actually disguised as a chauffeur, taking essentially two of his classmates, who are also new recruits, into the building. They're doing a more important job, and he's getting a bit fed up being sidelined. And he notices a bellhop mishandling luggage and gets suspicious. So he goes into the building despite being told not to, but he sort of disobeys his orders. So kind of showing the first kind of recklessness of Bond as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And it shows you some of the sort of classic stealth ways of getting in, how to get past security, how to improvise identities, how to blend into the crowd, listening, because the Hitman series is very much you could wander around and listen to NPCs. And if you listen to specific NPCs that were part of the setup of this world, you get basically more clues as to or more ways to work your way in. And then you can always take their clothes off and put them on as Hitman as well, and disguise themselves as those people. So in this deep dive, they really emphasise in IO Interactive, emphasised listening and opening opportunities, and then opening multiple routes to reach your objective. But then what happens is, that for me when I watched that was, this is great. It's a Hitman game, but Bond. But then it then has cutscenes, and it kind of escalates into a car chase with this French intelligence agent called Charlotte Roth, and it goes full Bond set piece, more like the Uncharted games, where you're driving through. When your cover gets blown, you start to use weapons, and you can blow up gas canisters and take out agents with machine guns and guns. So it's kind of a blend of the open world stealth, so careful Hitman, and the more action side of like the Nathan Drake franchise, the Uncharted franchise. And what my favourite thing was the first bit they take you through. You're going into the airport at the end after the car chase, and you're climbing through this sort of concrete tube, a stealth. At the end of the concrete tube, a security guard turns round and spots you and pulls his gun out. And in this game, as the developers were very keen to emphasise, that Bond would never smack or hit a civilian unless they pull a weapon on him. So in this game, the mechanic that's really cool. If an NPC or a character pulls a weapon on you, you get this word flash up saying "license to kill." And then you can use your weapons and take them out. And it is great, because he does turn around with the gun, and you've got the iconic cylindrical Bond turning around, opening ident scene from the films, inside the gun barrel. It's a very clever kind of homage to the Bond films. And that's when it just goes mental, and he's running around shooting and jumping, and you can mug people and take their guns off them, you can blow up the gas canisters around people, and then it jumps onto the plane, and the ramp of the plane falls off, just like the Uncharted games. But it felt really, it worked really well, because it was all the same kind of, the world worked together with the stealth and the action. Basically it's the sandbox DNA in a tuxedo, with stealth, infiltration, and improvisation driving this kind of Bond fantasy. Yeah, it was really good. It was a really good deep dive, and I understand IO Interactive had to call, they're not known for their driving, because all their games are all walking around the world. So they had to get a sort of secondary developer in to sort out the car driving controls. And I noticed in the video that the cars looked a little bit like when they drive. You at one point you cut the corner of a field to try and catch up the other player. And looking at them playing it, I had no idea how the person playing the game knew where to go. But I dug a bit deeper about that, and apparently they've got some magic sort of tools so that your car kind of follows a line. So you can let go of the wheel, it will steer itself, or you can drive it, but it's taking you on a course so that your action, you can try and muck up the game, but it'll still take you down that route. And they actually said if you do take a wrong turning and try and muck up the game on that route, there'll be some sheep crossing the road, and you have to reverse and go back, so it kind of anticipates you mucking the game up. It's very clever. But I'm very excited for it. It looks really good. Really, really good.
So
have you seen any deep dive? Have you seen any gameplay at all?
I have, yeah. So I've seen the trailer. I haven't seen any of the sort of
the mechanics.
Mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
I've just seen the trailer. I must confess I wasn't sure, but then at the same time I realised that the trailer probably contains game footage that wasn't quite polished or finished, so they're probably still working on it before it releases. But it's Bond, and we haven't had a Bond game for ages, so I'm going to get it. Now, here's the question, right? Are you going to pre-order it, and which version? Because you've got the Specialist. So on Switch 2, it's just the Specialist Edition, which is just the game. Then on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5, you have got 3 versions. £59.99, you can pre-order the specialist edition, which is just the game and the disc.
Yeah.
Then you have got for £169.99
Holy
the
moly.
the First Light Collector's Edition. Now this comes with some DLC, so you get 4 exclusive outfits, including what looks like Daniel Craig's outfit from the beginning of Spectre, from the Day of the Dead.
That's a great
And
outfit.
it looks like the naval uniform that we saw Roger Moore wearing, and a couple of other outfits. Then you've got a Gleaming Gadget skin pack, which includes what looks like a pair of gold AirPods, a pen, a lighter, and something else. Then you have
The AirPods feature in the game because the AirPods are micro-explosives. So he takes the earbuds off them and he can throw them and they become explosives.
Okay, good for him.
And he's got like a smartphone that fires darts. The smartphone essentially is like a stun gun. It's what's called emetic poison. The guards can basically, you can knock a guard out and get past somewhere with his smartphone. It's not branded. It's in the old days that smartphone would be a Sony Ericsson phone, wouldn't it? I don't think Amazon do phones. They used to do phones, but it's obviously not a branded phone like that. But
No.
£160 is a lot of money for.
Yeah, no, I haven't finished yet because you need to know what you get in it, right? For 169 quid. You also get a weapon skin for your gun, and then you get another exclusive skin, which is the Obsidian Gold suit. So you have like a gold sort of mask.
Oh yeah.
And then like a combat vest. You look like something out of Call of Duty. You also get a steel case with magnet and the game inside.
Right.
You get a certificate of authenticity, and you also get a life-size mask replica, presumably of the gold helmet from the Obsidian outfit. So that's what you get for £169.99. But hang on, John, wait, be patient, because there's also a legacy edition if the collector's edition is not enough for you.
Right.
Now, the First Light Legacy Edition contains the same DLC pack with the 4 outfits, the new weapon skin, and the gleaming pack for your mobile phone, your lighter, your pen, and your AirPods. You also get the Obsidian Gold suit, but on top of that, you get a golden gun skin for your weapon, so you can walk around like Scaramanga with the golden gun. It comes in a lovely box, branded 007 First Light,
golden gun.
and you can get a nice real-life replica golden gun with 5 bullets, and it comes on a nice little display stand. And it has a secret compartment, so who knows what's in there. You also get the certificate of authenticity and the steel case with the magnet and base game. Now, so for 100 quid, basically what you're getting is a golden gun skin within the game, and and you get the golden gun mod. Yeah, but who wants the mask when you can have the golden gun, John? Yeah. So swapping out the mask for the golden gun will cost you £259.95. Which version are you pre-ordering?
I will probably get it on. I'll probably pre-order it on PlayStation. Because if you pre-order it on PlayStation, you get an automatic free upgrade to the deluxe edition without having to pay any extra. If you pre-order it.
Okay. But you don't get the golden gun.
No, £260. No. That's a lot of money that I don't need to spend. Especially when I'm saving up for something else, mate.
I wonder if it's made out of metal. Like, if it's proper metal...
Plastic. But if it's plastic, it's clean.
If it's plastic, no. But if it's metal, then I might... Because it's my birthday at the end of January, so if this is still on pre-order like that, then, I'd be tempted.
Yeah, I can see you doing that, to be honest.
If it's metal...
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't say, does it? It doesn't say. So someone somewhere will find out. One of the gaming sites will probably get a preview of it and say, actually, this is plastic. So I'd keep an eye out for that before you invest that much money in a plastic gun. To be honest, probably.
I mean, it's Amazon. I can always send it back.
Yeah, no, I will be getting this. It comes out next March 27th in 2026. So I will pre-order it a few days before so I can get the deluxe editions. To be honest, I don't generally buy, unless they have like battle passes and things inside, I don't generally buy the deluxe editions just for the extra skins, because I'm not that fast. Especially when it's different in this game, because in this game Bond is third person, so you can see what he's wearing, I suppose. But in a lot of games, if you're first person, you can't even see what you're wearing. You just look great to everyone else. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a game I'm going to get.
First comment on Facebook, about this. I'd rather have a Bond statue. No one wants that gun. It's ugly.
Oh man, they're not Bond fans, then, are they?
No.
I'd like to know if the Bond gun can actually be taken apart as well, like in the film. I doubt it.
Golden gun, no one knows yet what that golden gun's made out of. But for 260 quid, I'd expect it to be freaking metal. Do you know what I mean?
Pure gold, yeah.
Yeah. Then I'd run around London with it, pretending to mug people.
Now, does it also come with a stick-on third nipple as well?
No, because this is 007 First Light. It's not Scaramanga.
I know.
In how he lost a nipple or gained a nipple.
Included a scalpel and Scaramanga's third lost nipple. There you go.
Yeah. So, the other recent chatter is that Lenny Kravitz is one of the villains in the game.
He was on the VGA. He was on the Video Game Awards. Was that this game? I think it might be actually. Yeah, they did a preview of his character from the game. I think he's like an African overlord of some sort. But he's called Mwamba or something. The name is that right?
Mm-hmm.
He came up and he did an announcement at the VGAs about that, and they did a little sort of trailer again for the game just to keep it going. I like Lenny Kravitz. He's always quite good. I can't remember what the name of him now is. Is it Mwamba? I think if you pre-order, you get. I think he might be something in a DLC when you pre-order as well. Okay, that's great, Lenny Kravitz. Well done. Yeah.
Do you think are the Hitman World of Assassination? Does that game take quite a long time to play? Like, if you got this at the end of March 26, and there's not a new film coming out till summer next year, would this be enough to keep you busy?
What, this Bond game?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's game, because the thing about the Hitman games was the replayability. Because in the Hitman games, if you've not played them before, you've got different locations and they're a place you go to. So it's a whole area like this. Like one was like sort of the French Riviera or Italian Riviera, Sapienza, really good level. And basically, once you completed the main objectives, you could go back in and play it again. But this time, you could only kill your target with a particular poison, or you also had to take out some secondary lieutenants from a distance with a sniper rifle. And they also have things called contracts where they have celebrities coming in as actors. They've had Slim Shady's the latest contract you can take out in one of the levels. But each level is a big sandbox that you replay over and over again. And in some cases, you have to replay them to be able to unlock certain pathways for the next try. And so when they first released Hitman, you would pay for it, and it was released episodically. So I would spend, when I first got Hitman 3, the Sapienza level was, I think, the second or third level, can't remember. But you played that over and over again until they released the next level. So they weren't all released in one go. Whereas I imagine the Bond game's going to be, it's one package. I imagine there's going to be it's going to be a bit more focused and direct than a game that can be. I mean, I guess they can play it over and over again because they're offering you multiple pathways, but I don't see it being quite as recyclable as the original Hitman games, if that makes sense, because it's one big story. My wonder is, though, is how much of this lore, this Bond lore in this game, is going to translate into the film that Amazon make. Are they going to be consistent with the franchise here, or are they going to have them as completely two separate things? Because if you look very closely at the cover art, if you look behind me, you'll notice that Bond has a scar on his cheek, which is mentioned in Ian Fleming's books. It was never given to the actors in the films. And so I think IO Interactive are trying to be a little bit more faithful to the original books in some respect with the young Bond. I don't know if they'll be doing that in the film. I don't know. I just like the fact that they are looking at aspects of the books that aren't involved in the films. I was reading about this in an Edge article, and they want to be a bit more faithful to the original storylines as well that Fleming wrote. However, I don't know if this Bond's going to be an alcoholic like Bond was in the books as well, so we'll have to wait and see. That's another thing we need to talk about, really. How many of the modern day values are we going to see in this game, or is it going to be, in terms of Bond's womanizing and drinking? I would imagine we're probably not. And is that going to raise certain groups on the internet's ire about wokeness as well? I don't know. He's definitely not woke when it comes to shooting and blowing things up, but if he's a young recruit, he's going to be less confident about sleeping around, isn't he, really? I imagine.
Yeah.
Which is
well,
a clever angle to go from. I don't know.
We'll just have to wait and see. But whatever decisions they make and whatever happens, it's going to be debated and it's going to be divisive, and people are going to get on one side or the other. Because that's just the way the world is these days. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it for today. Bond feels like it's properly back in motion again, thank God. Yeah. And whether you're excited, sceptical, or somewhere in the middle, it's definitely got people talking again, which is exactly where we want Bond to be. As always, we really want to hear what you all think. Denis Villeneuve, Callum Turner, the future of Bond, the game. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Agree with us, disagree with us, tell us we've missed something completely. And if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a rating and a review. And share the episode with someone who loves Bond as much as we do. And you do. We'll be back very soon with more Tailoring Talk. 2026 is shaping up to be a very big year. I hope to get this out just before Christmas 2025. So, Jon and I will say, and on behalf of Alex, who couldn't be here today, wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope we will have another episode in time for New Year. But whatever you're doing to celebrate this year, I hope that you have a fantastic time, you get everything that you wish for, and we wish you much peace and love as we head towards 2026. Jon?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and don't overdo the vodka martinis. Take it from me.
Exactly. Thanks ever so much, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.